Let me ask you a question. What do you do when you hit a terrible golf shot? Not the perfect shot, not the one you hit on the driving range. I'm talking about the shot that goes exactly where you didn't want it to go. Maybe you hit a huge slice. Maybe you top it. Maybe you chunk it 30 yards. Maybe you hit it into the trees. Been there, done that. Maybe you completely lose your swing for an entire hole. What do you do next? Because I think this is one of the biggest differences between people who struggle at golf and people who actually start getting better. And here's what I've learned. Good golfers aren't necessarily better because they hit perfect shots all day. They're better because when they hit a bad shot, they know what to do next. And if you're a beginner or if you're trying to learn, this might be one of the most important things you can learn because you're going to hit bad shots. I promise. I'm going to hit bad shots. You're going to hit bad shots. Everybody watching this video is going to hit bad shots, and the millions of people who aren't watching this video are going to hit bad shots. The goal isn't to eliminate them. The goal is to learn how to recover from them. And today, I'm going to show you how to start doing that, because the difference between a bad shot that costs you one stroke and a bad shot that turns into a triple bogey is often not on the first shot. It's the decisions you make next. The bad shot isn't the problem. Here's something I want you to understand. A bad shot in golf is not necessarily what ruins your hole. It's what you do after the bad golf shot. Let's say you hit your drive into the trees. You have two choices. You can look at the situation and say, okay, what's the smartest shot I can hit from here? Or you can look at the situation and say, I've got to get back to the fairway. And those sound like the same thing, but they're not. Because the second one often leads to the worst decision in golf, the hero shot. You see a tiny gap between two trees. You think, I can probably hit it through there. You pull out a club you don't completely trust. You try to thread the needle. You hit a tree, obviously. Now you're worse off, so you try again. And now you're at least 3 shots into a hole, probably more, that started with one bad drive. That's the spiral. And this is where we need to change the way we think about golf. The goal isn't, how do I fix the bad shot? The goal is, how do I make the next shot a good decision? That's a completely different question. And the question is going to save you a lot of strokes. Stop expecting every shot to be perfect. One of the biggest reasons beginners struggle with recovery is because they don't have realistic expectations. They think every shot is supposed to be good. You hit a bad drive and you're disappointed. You hit a bad approach and you're disappointed. You miss the green and you're disappointed. You 3-putt and you're disappointed. And now you're 4 shots into the hole and you're frustrated. But here's the thing. Golf is a game of mistakes. Even the best players in the world miss fairways. They miss greens. They hit bad shots. They make bogeys. The difference is they don't let one mistake automatically become 2. That's a skill, and it's a skill you can learn. The one-shot rule. Here's a simple rule I want you to try. I call it the one-shot rule. You're allowed to be upset about one shot. You can be frustrated. You can say, that was terrible. Swear if you want to, just quietly, because you're on a golf course. You can shake your head. You can take a breath, whatever you need to do. But then that shot is over. The next shot gets a fresh start. Because if you carry the last shot into the next shot, you're not actually playing golf anymore. You're trying to fix the past, and you can't fix the past. You can only play the ball that's in front of you. So when you hit a bad shot, I want you to ask 3 questions. Number 1, where's my ball? Number 2, what is my best option from here? Number 3, what's the worst thing that could happen? That's it. Where am I? What's my best option? What's the worst case scenario? That's how you start making better decisions. The recovery ladder. Now, I want to give you a simple framework for recovering from bad shots. Think of this as a ladder. At the top, get back to normal. But you don't necessarily get there in one shot. Sometimes you need to take the next step. So here's your recovery ladder. Can I safely advance the ball? If yes, do that. Level 2, can I get back into position? If not, find the safest place. Level 3, can I eliminate the big mistake? Avoid water, avoid trees, avoid OB. Level 4, can I get back to playing normal golf? That's the goal. Notice what isn't on the list. Hero shots, miracle shots, trying to make up for the last shot, because the fastest way to recover is often to stop trying to recover everything at once. This is where the distance trust gap matters. This is where one of the concepts we've talked about before becomes really important, your distance trust gap. Most golfers have a distance they think they hit a club and a distance they actually can. Let's say you think you hit your 7-iron 160 yards, but your average is actually 145. Now you hit a bad drive into the trees. You're 160 from the green. You have a tiny opening, and you think, I've got 7-iron. But here's the problem. You don't have 160 yards. You have 160 yards on your best shot. And now you're trying to hit your best shot from your worst situation. That's a terrible combination. This is where knowing your distance profiles becomes incredibly valuable. You need to know what's my average, what's my reliable distance, what's my miss, and what happens when I don't have a perfect lie. Because recovery golf is not about hitting your best shot. It's about hitting the shot you can trust. That's a huge difference. And on top of all that, if you're 160 to the green through the trees, you shouldn't be playing a 160 club anyway. You need to get out of there. You're not going through trees. Find a spot you can get through and get back to a better area for your next shot. The full bag framework. This is also where your full bag framework becomes important. A lot of golfers have 14 clubs, but only trust 3. The driver, which most of us shouldn't, the 7-iron, and the putter. And everything else is basically there for decoration. They get into trouble, and suddenly they're trying to use a club they haven't hit in 3 months. That's not recovery, that's gambling. I know that I've tried to use my clubs more often and get used to all of them. My 3-iron, can't hit it. 5-wood, not great with it. Even my 4-iron has its days. If I'm in trouble, those are not clubs I'm even going to pick up because I know I can't hit them under good conditions. If I'm struggling, if I have an issue, I'm either going to a wedge or my 7-iron because it can get me out of trouble. Your goal should be to build a bag where every club has a job. You don't need to be equally good with every club, but you should know if I need to advance the ball 100 yards, I have a club I trust. If I'm 150 out, I have a club I trust. If I need to get out of trouble, I have a club I trust. That's what creates freedom, because when you have a full bag of trusted options, you don't have to force one shot. You can choose. And golf becomes much easier when you're choosing instead of hoping. The biggest recovery mistake. Here's the biggest recovery mistake I see. You hit a bad shot. You try to hit a better shot than the situation allows. That's the problem. Your ball's behind a tree. You have a terrible lie. You're 200 yards away. And you're thinking about getting on the green. That's the wrong goal. The goal isn't to get on the green. Your goal is to get yourself into a position where your next shot's easier. That's it. Golf is a game of positioning, and sometimes the smartest shot is sideways. Sometimes it's backwards. Sometimes it's a 30-yard punch shot, and sometimes the best shot you can hit is a shot that gives you another chance. That's not playing scared, that's playing smart. The 70% rule. Here's another concept I want you to try. When you're in trouble, don't choose a shot you can hit 10% of the time. Choose a shot you can hit 70 or 80% of the time. If there's a tiny gap between 2 trees and you can hit it successfully 1 out of 10 times, it's probably not your shot. But if there's a wider opening and you can punch a 7-iron through 7 out of 10 times, that's probably the better play. And here's the crazy thing. The 70% shot might not look impressive. Nobody's going to say, wow, that's an incredible recovery. But here's what happens. You hit it. You're back in play. You hit your next shot and suddenly you're making bogey instead of a triple. That's how your score comes down. That's how good golf happens. Not through magic, through fewer disasters. Bad shots are information. Here's something else I want you to start thinking about. Your bad shots are telling you something. If you keep slicing the ball, that's information. If you're coming up short, that's information. If you keep hitting the ball into trouble, that's information. Start playing Kirklands instead of Titleist. The mistake is thinking, I'm terrible at golf. Instead ask, what is this shot trying to tell me? Maybe your distance trust gap is too large. Maybe your club selection's wrong. Maybe your target's too aggressive. Maybe you're trying to hit a shot you don't actually own. Maybe your full bag framework has a hole in it. Maybe you don't have a reliable club for that situation. That's useful information. Once you start looking at bad shots that way, they become part of the learning process. So here's the recovery practice drill. Here's something I want you to try next time you practice. Don't just hit perfect shots. Practice recovering. Take a bucket of balls, start by hitting a few normal shots, then create bad situations. Find a bad lie. Move behind an imaginary tree. Give yourself an awkward distance. Pretend you just hit your drive into the woods and ask, what's my best option? Pick the club, pick the target, hit the shot, and then do it again. This teaches you something your driving range sessions usually don't. Decision making. You're not just practicing your swing, you're practicing your ability to respond. That's a skill. Even go into the sand trap and practice from there. A lot of people don't. The mental game. Now let's talk about the hardest part, the mental side. Because recovering from a bad shot isn't just choosing the right club. It's about accepting where you are. You have to be willing to say, this isn't where I wanted to be, but that's okay. This isn't the shot I wanted, but that's okay. But this is where I am. And now what's next? That's the entire game. You don't get to choose where your last shot went. You get to choose what happens next. And obviously, I think that applies to golf, but honestly, it applies to a lot more than golf. The 3 questions. So let's bring this all together. The next time you hit a bad shot, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. Number 1, where am I? Don't pretend you're somewhere else. Accept the lie. Accept the distance. Accept the situation. Number 2, what's my highest percentage shot? Not your most impressive shot. Not your best ever shot. Your highest percentage shot. Number 3, what's the worst thing that could happen? And then don't do that. That's recovery golf. It's simple, but it's not easy because your ego wants the hero shot. Your ego wants to erase the mistake. Your ego wants to hit the perfect shot. But golf doesn't reward you for fixing the past. Golf rewards you for making the best decision right now. Here's what I want you to remember. You're going to hit bad shots. I don't care how good you get. You're going to hit them. The goal isn't to eliminate them. The goal is to get better at what happens next, because eventually you're going to hit a bad drive. And instead of getting angry, you're going to take a breath. You're going to walk over to your ball. You're going to look at the situation. You're going to know your distances, and you're going to know your options. And you're going to say, okay, what's the best shot I can hit from here? And you hit it. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe you don't make par. Maybe you make bogey. Bogey golf equals a 90. But you avoided the disaster and you kept playing. That's the skill. And I think that's one of the biggest differences between golfers who stay frustrated and golfers who start enjoying this game. They stop expecting golf to be perfect. They learn how to play the golf ball that's actually in front of them. And that's something you can start doing today. You don't need a better swing. You don't need new clubs. You don't need to hit the ball 20 yards farther. You need to get better at the next shot because your last shot is already gone. The only shot you can control is the one you're about to hit. And that's where we're going next. Because now that you know how to recover from a bad shot, we need to talk about something that might be even more important. How do you actually start building a golf game you can trust? Because the goal isn't just to recover from mistakes forever. The goal is to gradually make fewer of them. And that's where we're headed. If you missed the first couple of videos of this series, check them out. They'll take you through step by step and help you fix it all. It's popping up now and it's definitely something to binge. Don't forget to comment questions down below and we'll work on answering them on our next live. Make sure to subscribe so that we can all grow together. Remember, our goal is to help you in 2026 so we can all play better, have more fun, and love the game again. See you next time.